Trump wants us to forget about the Epstein case and move on. I don't think that's going to happen. Have a listen.
Just interrupt for 1 second. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that.
So, yeah, I think everybody is really pissed off, and I saw this quote here. It is complete bullshit. I think most people are. I was looking on X today, and there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, let's just forget about it. Doesn't matter. Let's move on. But I think it does matter, especially if you're a parent. And like he was saying, yeah, the what's happening in Texas is absolutely devastating and horrible. Couldn't even fathom losing a child. Couldn't fathom. And what's going on there. Yes, that's 100% more important. However, another thing that is terrible to happen is to have your child trafficked and to have your child go through what one of these girls went through. I think that that's a problem. And the second thing is no one's being held accountable. There's no accountability. That's like behaviorism 101. You have to have consequences. So there's absolutely no consequences. No one, not one person is going to jail. It's just horrible. And third is what is this bigger picture of this? Like, what does this mean in the big world of between Israel and all these high-end politicians? So this goes way deeper. I think that if anything I learned is this goes way deeper than anything that we've ever could have even imagined. So today I just want to do a deep dive into, what is going on. This is one of the biggest, most significant criminal cases in modern history involving powerful politicians, billionaires, and foreign intelligence connections. It's being quietly swept under the rug. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Jeffrey Epstein's files, the connections the mainstream media won't discuss, and why forgetting about this case could be the biggest mistake in American history. I'm Delania, and welcome back. Again, we've been talking about Epstein a lot, but I just feel like it just cannot be thrown underneath the rug. So I just want to explore the documented connections between Epstein and foreign intelligence, examine why accountability matters for protecting future victims, and investigate the deeper international relationships that may explain why this case remains unresolved. This isn't about conspiracy theories. This is about documented facts and unanswered questions. And the public, we demand answers. Now let's start with what we do know, and most importantly, what we don't. When the Jeffrey Epstein case files were supposed to be released, many Americans expected full transparency. Instead, we got heavily redacted documents with crucial information still sealed. This isn't just about one case. It's about whether our justice system can handle cases involving the most powerful people in society. The American people were promised accountability. Many voters across party lines believed they would finally get answers about who was involved and how this criminal network operated for decades. Instead, we're left with more questions than answers. This erosion of trust isn't just disappointing, it's dangerous. When citizens lose faith in their government ability to prosecute the powerful, it undermines the entire foundation of democratic society. The rule of law only works when it applies equally to everyone, regardless of their wealth, connections, or political influence. My dad used to read George Orwell all the time, and he had a big book of George. It was this giant book. I think it was a lot of his stories and a lot of his kind of philosophy in this huge book. And so my dad used to try to make me read it all the time, and it was huge. So I would kind of skim through part of it, but I'm like, this is so George Orwell. Like, don't believe what's right in front of your eyes, because, we're going to control them. We're going to tell you what you can think, and just don't believe what you see, because that's not true. This is like gaslighting to the nth degree. And this picture like sums it up perfectly. You have the pedophiles and the lawmakers, and then these law enforcers are protecting them. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's just ludicrous. But why does this matter so much? Why can't we just move on? We cannot forget the Epstein cases because forgetting enables future crimes. This wasn't about one man, it was about a system that exploited vulnerable children for the purpose of compromising very, very powerful individuals. The evidence suggests that Epstein's operation wasn't just about personal gratification, it was about creating leverage over politicians, business leaders, and influential figures. This is how power protects itself through mutual compromise and shared secrets. When we fail to hold these networks accountable, we're essentially giving them permission to continue operating. The victims deserve justice, but most importantly, future potential victims deserve protection. Every day we delay, accountability is another day these networks can rebuild and continue their operations. The children who were trafficked and abused weren't just victims of Epstein's. They were victims of a system that prioritized protecting the powerful over protecting the innocent. If we don't break this cycle, it will continue indefinitely. And it also goes back to the movie The Sound of Freedom. I didn't want to see the movie. I didn't want to see it. And then my friends, oh, it's really good. So I went to see the movie, and it was an excellent movie. And I also wondered, why was this being buried for 5 years? And because no one wants to talk about it. Again, no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to see it. And they actually did a very good job in that movie of not actually seeing anything, but the intention was 100% there. And I still remember the feeling of just seeing it all, even in a movie, was just horrifying. And I've also told other friends, and that's the thing, they wanted more and more people to see it. And I've talked to other people and say, oh, you got to see it. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to see it. I said, I was the same. However, what they don't want, it's like, I call them like cockroaches in a room. Like if you open the door and shine a light, the cockroaches are going to run. Those cockroaches don't want any light shone on them. And through this case and everything that's going on right now, there is a big, bright light being shone on this whole entire system, and they don't want any of us to see us. They want us to close the door and let the cockroaches come back out. Like I said, if there's no accountability, nothing will change. And though for those people that say, "Oh, it doesn't matter, let's move on," I don't know if you're not a parent or you don't have a daughter. I can't even fathom how someone could say that. Having a daughter, I have a 15-year-old daughter, so maybe I'm super sensitive because she's right in that category. But that is absolutely devastating. These people are ruining children's lives for what greater good? I would like to know what the greater good is. And the fact that they just want us to forget about it, I find even more disturbing. So now we go into the international dimensions of this case that rarely get discussed. And this is where I'm talking, is this what the greater good is? I don't know. To understand the Epstein case, we must understand the Maxwell family. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, was a British media mogul with documented connections to multiple intelligence agencies. When he died mysteriously in 1991, questions about his intelligence work remained unanswered. Giselle Maxwell wasn't just Epstein's client, she was his handler. Her family's background in intelligence operations suggested this wasn't an amateur hour. This was sophisticated operation with international dimensions. Then there was Les Wexner, the billionaire who gave Epstein his New York mansion and power attorney over his finances. Wexner has never adequately explained why he entrusted his fortune to someone with no apparent qualifications. This relationship was central to Epstein's operation, yet it remains largely unexplained. These connections point to something larger than a simple criminal enterprise. They suggest coordination, planning, and protection that extends beyond American borders. The sophistication of this operation, the international scope, and the level of protection Epstein received all point to state-level involvement. And I saw this video of Giselle Maxwell, and this is very interesting.
An agent as well? Was she someone working for Israeli intelligence?
Oh, definitely.
Military intelligence as well?
Yes. These guys were seen as agents. And so they found a niche for themselves, blackmailing American and other political figures.
for the Israelis. So it's hard for people to understand why Israel would want to get blackmail on an American. I'm asking a question that I can answer it quite probably, but for most people, it's hard for them to think about Israel as being blackmailing their leaders in the United States. It's a very...
It was quite a MO. He made sure these girls were underage. You really didn't want the stories to come out about how they were blackmailing American politicians.
No.
Ghislaine said they were working on all these Israeli charities. And I remember thinking, oh, that's weird. And she was like, you don't understand our loyalty to Israel, Maria. You don't understand our loyalty.
Wow. There you go. And there is a picture of Wexner and Epstein. Apparently he was the one of the masterminds on for the whole thing, along with Maxwell's father. And essentially, I think that we're all looking at this the wrong way. I think that it wasn't Epstein that controlled Ghislaine Maxwell. I think it was the other way around. I think Maxwell handled him. He worked for her. And they're also saying that he actually had no money. It was just, the whole thing was a complete facade. So then it goes again to the foreign intelligence. Now let's examine the evidence for that involvement, specifically regarding Israel's Mossad. Intelligence agencies have long used blackmail as a tool of statecraft. The ability to compromise foreign leaders provides enormous strategic advantage if you can control or influence the other people making decisions in other countries. You can effectively control those countries' policies. Several investigators have noted connections between Epstein's network and Israel intelligence. The sophistication of the operation, the international scope, and the level of protection. It also suggests state sponsorship. This isn't about anti-Semitism. It's about recognizing how intelligence operations actually work. Consider the strategic value. If you could compromise American politicians, business leaders, and media figures, you could influence American foreign policy regarding particularly the Middle East, the billions in the aid. And also there was a picture of, these are some of the people that, of course, were part of this, leaders that they all had. Let me say, have them all by the short and curlies, but yeah, this is just an example of some of those people. The billions in aid, the military support, the diplomatic protection, and all of this could be influenced through blackmail and compromise. The protection Epstein received, the way his case was handled, and the continued secrecy around his connections all make more sense when you viewed this through the lens. It was just about protecting individual reputations. It was about protecting an entire intelligence operation. So, and I also saw this video here that kind of explains it. This explains it very well, all kind of in a nutshell.
Way that Israel has affected U.S. foreign policy is through blackmail operations. And I would point to Jeffrey Epstein, who was allowed for 30 years to recruit young girls in America from vulnerable, broken homes, as young as 13 years old. And Mr. Epstein, who I believe was a fake billionaire, I do not believe he was a billionaire, I believe he was an actor, an imposter on behalf of the Israeli Mossad. Mr. Epstein then lured powerful, influential American men into his various mansions so that they could rape the girls. The sexual acts were videotaped, and the videos were sent to Israel for blackmail operations against Americans.
If it were proven, what would the U.S. establishment do?
Nothing. Nothing. Too many American leaders have been videotaped by Jeffrey Epstein. There's not going to be any action from the American political establishment. The American ruling class is corrupt, and the American people must clean house.
I want to thank you, Democrats and Republicans, for your common support for Israel, year after year, decade after decade.
Both parties, both political parties in America are controlled by Zionists. There is no choice in America.
Epstein and
Wow. That pretty much sums it up right there. So that brings us today and potential connections to this historical operations. When leaders are compromised, their decision-making becomes suspect. Every police choice, every military action, even diplomatic move must be viewed through the lens of it. Is this serving America's interests, or is this serving the interests of those who hold leverage over our leaders? This is particularly relevant when examining current Middle East policy. The unconditional support, the military aid, the diplomatic protection, all of this takes on new meaning when you consider the possibility that some of these leaders may be compromised. The recent tensions with Iran, the bombing campaigns, the military escalations, are these decisions being made based on American strategic interest, or are they being influenced by foreign intelligence operations that have compromised our decision makers? This isn't speculation. This is how intelligence operations work. You don't just collect information, you use it to influence behavior. The Epstein network, if it was indeed an intelligence operation, would you have been designed to do exactly this? Influence American policy? Is this what it was actually designed for? And to get that through compromise and blackmail? So where does that leave us, and what can we do about it? The first step is refusing to forget. We cannot forget. We cannot just throw this under the carpet just because there's other devastating things going on in the world. We just cannot. Every time someone tries to move on from this case, we must remind them that justice, even if it's delayed, is not justice. The victims deserve answers, and the American people deserve to know if their leaders are compromised. We need to demand full transparency about the Epstein case, not redacted documents, not sealed files, but complete disclosure. If our leaders have nothing to hide, they should welcome this transparency. If they resist, we need to ask why. We also need to reform our intelligence oversight systems. If foreign intelligence agencies are operating on American soil, compromising American leaders, our counterintelligence agencies need to be held accountable for their failures. Most importantly, we need to protect future victims. This means supporting survivor funding investigations and creating systems that prevent these networks from operating in the shadows. The Epstein case isn't just about the past. It's about the future of the American democracy. If we allow powerful networks to operate with impunity, if we let foreign intelligence agencies compromise our leaders, if we prioritize protecting the powerful over protecting the innocent, and we've lost something fundamental about what America is supposed to represent. The Jeffrey Epstein case represents a crossroad for American democracy. We can choose to forget, to move on, to let the powerful protect themselves, or we can choose to demand accountability, transparency, and justice. The choice is ours. But remember, every day we delay justice is another day these networks can move on and operate. Another day potential victims remain at risk, and another day our democracy becomes even more compromised. So please don't let them forget. The truth really matters, justice matters, and the future of our democracy may depend on whether we have the courage to demand both. And what do you guys think? I think the whole confidence in the US government, to me, this is not about Epstein anymore. This is about the trust being gone. This is about the government, i.e. Trump, saying, yeah, we're gonna give you guys the truth, and we're gonna give it to you. And then all of a sudden, there is no, everything's gone. I think that what Trump wants is just everybody to forget about it. But what he doesn't understand is that he's lost the trust. It's almost like when you're in a relationship and like shit hits the fan and you're like, oh shit, like, or something happens and the trust is gone. There's cheating, there's something, whatever goes on in the relationship, when the trust is gone, it's hard to bring that relationship back. And I think that a lot of people, I didn't vote, but if I did vote, I would have voted for Trump. And if I was a Trump voter, I'd be very disillusioned right now. It's just, I'm in shock. I think everybody's in shock. But to forget about it is not the answer. And I saw this, I know everybody's got their opinion on Elon Musk lately, but he had something very interesting to say. I think he nailed it right here.
Rightly frustrated if no one is prosecuted for the Epstein client list, no one at all, which, no one, like at least, I don't know, the top 5 or something, like some number. there should at least be an attempted prosecution of the worst offenders.
Well, particularly if Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for sex trafficking.
Yes.
Because, like, trafficking
that means sex trafficking occurred.
Right. So she's in jail for it.
Yes.
So
who were the clients?
Yeah. Yeah, how do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane.
I think, yes, it would. Yes, because
just stunning that they've been able to hold it back for so long. It's really kind of amazing.
Yes.
Like when people say that people can't keep secrets, what the fuck are you talking about? Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of these things are not like it's common knowledge, but we don't actually have the proof.
Right.
So the proof is there. I mean, there's lots of videos. Yeah, there's lots. I mean, the dude is like a mountain of like. Whenever they raided Epstein's place, there would have been like a mountain of evidence. Where is that mountain?
Right. What'd you do with it?
Yes. Like who took possession of the evidence?
Yeah.
Specifically.
Right.
The individuals.
Where are the tapes?
Yes.
How many levels?
So he's right. Where is the evidence? And another thing I heard someone talking about today is Ghislaine Maxwell is actually appealing her case. So there is a bunch of evidence. Whatever evidence got her in jail is now sitting in the Southern District in New York. There's files and files of files. Whatever they got her on, there's still files there. Apparently, the FBI does not have access to those files, but Pam Bondi does. So again, I would love to hear from anybody that thinks that this should just be swept underneath the rug and move on like nothing happened. I want to hear. I love to hear your point of view. I just can't imagine that anybody's okay with this. I think it's just devastating. And like I said, the whole devastating part of it is about the democracy. Again, I go back up to this. Who's okay with that? Is anybody okay with that? I don't know. Let me know. I'd really like to know. Again, my name is Delania. Please like, subscribe, share. I'll be doing deep dives into all kinds of stuff. I'm looking into the media and all kind of warp stuff. So anyways, please like, subscribe, share, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.